The stopwatch read 6 minutes and 42 seconds. Bruce Lee had not taken a single breath. 6 minutes, 42 seconds. Underwater. No oxygen tank. No assistance. Just a man, a pool, and a breathing technique that defied medical explanation. When he finally surfaced, his training partner dropped the stopwatch in shock. "That is not possible," he stammered. "The human body cannot do that." Bruce smiled calmly, wiped the water from his face. His heart rate was steady. His composure was perfect. He looked like a man who had just taken a leisurely swim, not someone who had been holding his breath for nearly 7 minutes. "The body can do anything the mind believes it can," Bruce said. "You just have to know how to breathe." This is the story that sports scientists still cannot fully explain. The breathing method Bruce Lee developed that gave him endurance beyond anything medicine thought possible. The technique that let him fight for hours without fatigue. The secret that died with him in 1973. Until now. Hong Kong, 1971. The rooftop of Bruce Lee's home in Kowloon Tong. It was 4:47 in the morning. The city was silent. Only the distant sound of harbor boats broke the stillness. Bruce Lee stood alone in the darkness, wearing only loose cotton pants. The night air was cool against his bare chest. His eyes were closed. His body was motionless. He was breathing, not the unconscious, automatic breathing that keeps us alive. Something different. Something deliberate. Something that had taken him 15 years to master. In through the nose. Slow. Controlled. 7 seconds of inhalation. Hold. 4 seconds. Complete stillness. Out through the mouth. Slow. Controlled. 8 seconds of exhalation. Hold. 4 seconds. Empty lungs. Perfect calm. This was the foundation. The basic pattern. What Bruce called the square breath. But the square breath was only the beginning. What Bruce did next would push his body beyond every known limit of human endurance. He began to move. Slowly at first. Tai Chi Movem. Ancient forms passed down through generations. His arms floated through the air like clouds. His weight shifted like water. Every motion synchronized with breath. Inhale. Arms rise. Exhale. Arms fall. Inhale. Weight shifts left. Exhale. Weight shifts right. The movements accelerated gradually. What began as Tai Chi transformed into something faster. Sharper. More explosive. Kicks. Punches. Combinations. But the breathing never changed. No matter how fast Bruce moved, no matter how explosive the technique, his breath remained controlled. Measured. Perfect. This was the secret. This was what separated Bruce Lee from every other martial artist on the planet. They trained their muscles. He trained his breath. They built strength. He built endurance. They could fight for minutes. He could fight for hours. The development of Bruce Lee's breathing method began in 1956, when he was just 15 years old. He was training under Ip Man, the legendary Wing Chun master in Hong Kong. Ip Man was small, elderly, and seemingly fragile. But he could defeat students half his age and twice his size without ever appearing to exert himself. Bruce was obsessed with understanding how. "Sifu," he asked one day after training, "why do you never get tired?" Ip Man smiled. That thin smile that masters give when a student asks the right question. "Because I do not fight with my muscles," Ip Man said. "I fight with my breath." Bruce did not understand. How can breath defeat an opponent? Ip Man walked to the center of the training hall. "Stand here. Attack me. Do not stop until I tell you to." Bruce obeyed. He attacked with everything he had. Punches. Kicks. Wing Chun chain punches. Everything he knew. Ip Man deflected. Redirected. Countered. Never retreating. Never struggling. Never breathing hard. After 3 minutes, Bruce was gasping. His arms were heavy. His legs were burning. His lungs screamed for air. Ip Man stood calmly, hands clasped behind his back, breathing as if he had just woken from a nap. "Stop," Ip Man said. Bruce doubled over, hands on his knees, try to recover. "You attacked with your muscles," Ip Man explained. "Every punch required effort. Every kick required energy. You exhausted yourself." He paused. "I defended with my breath. I used only the energy necessary. I wasted nothing." I remained calm while you destroyed yourself. Bruce looked up. Sweat dripped from his face. Teach me. Ip Man shook his head. I cannot teach you. You must discover it yourself. But I will give you a beginning. He placed his hand on Bruce's chest. Breathe here. Not here. He moved his hand to Bruce's upper chest. Here. He moved it to Bruce's belly. Fill your lower body first. Let the breath rise naturally. Control the exhale. The exhale is everything. That was the only instruction Ip Man ever gave Bruce about breathing. But it was enough. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most important part of this story is still unfolding. For the next 15 years, Bruce Lee experimented obsessively with breathing techniques. He studied every system he could find. Pranayama from Indian yoga, ancient breathing practices designed to control prana, life force, energy. Qigong from Chinese tradition, techniques for cultivating qi, internal power, vitality. The breathing methods of Japanese martial arts. The Ki shout, the controlled exhalation of power. Western sports science, oxygen efficiency, lactate threshold, cardiovascular optimization. He studied them all, practiced them all, tested them all, and he discarded most of what he learned, because most breathing techniques had the same problem. They were designed for meditation, not combat. They assumed stillness, peace, tranquility. Real fighting was chaos, unpredictability, explosive movement followed by sudden stillness followed by more explosions. No traditional breathing system could handle that. So Bruce created his own. He called it combat breathing. The principles were simple. The execution was incredibly difficult. Principle 1. Breathe with the diaphragm, never the chest. Chest breathing is shallow. It uses only the top portion of the lungs. It creates tension in the shoulders and neck. It wastes energy. Diaphragmatic breathing is deep. It fills the entire lung capacity. It keeps the upper body relaxed. It conserves energy. Bruce trained himself to breathe exclusively from his diaphragm, even during intense physical exertion, even while throwing full power punches, even while being hit. This alone took 3 years to master. Principle 2. Exhale on exertion. Inhale on recovery. Every powerful movement should be accompanied by a sharp, controlled exhale. The exhale tightens the core, stabilizes the spine, increases power output. Every recovery moment should be accompanied by a deep, controlled inhale. The inhale refills oxygen stores, relaxes unnecessary muscles, prepares for the next exertion. Bruce synchronized his breathing with his fighting so precisely that every technique became a meditation. Punch, exhale. Recover, inhale. Kick, exhale. Recover, inhale. Principle 3. Never hold the breath under stress. Most people, when stressed or exerting, unconsciously hold their breath. This is catastrophic for endurance. Holding the breath creates oxygen debt. Oxygen debt creates fatigue. Fatigue creates defeat. Bruce trained himself to maintain continuous breathing regardless of circumstances. Even when surprised, even when hurt, even when exhausted, he would have training partners attack him unexpectedly while he was focused on other tasks. If he held his breath, he had failed the exercise. If he maintained breathing, he had succeeded. This training was brutal. It took years, but the results were extraordinary. Principle 4. Control the ratio. The ratio of inhalation to exhalation determines the body state. Equal ratio for seconds in, for seconds out, maintains current energy levels. Longer exhale for seconds in, 8 seconds out, calms the nervous system, conserves energy, promotes recovery. Longer inhale, 8 seconds in for seconds out, energizes the system, prepares for intense exertion. Bruce could shift between these ratios instantly, adapting his breathing to the demands of the moment. Preparing for a fight, longer inhale, building energy. In the middle of a fight, equal ratio, maintaining performance. Recovering between rounds, longer exhale, promoting recovery. This adaptability was unprecedented. No other martial artist could control their physiology with such precision. The fifth principle was the most mysterious. Bruce called it empty breathing. The concept came from Taoist meditation. The idea that true relaxation comes not from filling the body with breath, but from emptying it completely. Bruce would exhale fully, then hold the emptiness. Not straining, not forcing, just existing in a state of complete emptiness. In this state, he claimed time slowed down. Perception sharpened. The body became weightless. He would practice empty breathing before fights, before demonstrations, before any moment that required peak performance. The empty breath before the first punch was more important than the punch itself. The results of Bruce Lee's breathing training were measurable. In 1965, his resting heart rate was 68 beats per minute, average for a fit person. By 1972, his resting heart rate had dropped to 42 beats per minute, elite athlete territory. But the most remarkable measurement was his heart rate recovery. After intense exercise, most athletes require several minutes for their heart rate to return to resting levels. Elite athletes might recover in 2 to 3 minutes. Bruce Lee could recover in 45 seconds. 45 seconds. He could go from maximum exertion to complete calm in less than a minute. This was unheard of. Sports scientists who studied his training logs could not explain it. The answer was breathing. By controlling his breath, Bruce could control his heart. By controlling his heart, he could control his entire physiology. By controlling his physiology, he could control his performance. The famous underwater demonstration was just one example. 6 minutes and 42 seconds without breath. Not because Bruce had superhuman lung capacity. His lungs were average size, but because he could slow his metabolism to almost nothing. His body, trained through 15 years of breathing practice, could enter a state of such profound relaxation that it required almost no oxygen. The Taoist masters called this state turtle breathing, the ability to survive on minimal resources by minimizing the body's demands. Bruce had achieved it through pure training. Share and subscribe. Some stories deserve to be remembered. The practical applications of Bruce Lee's breathing method were visible in every aspect of his training. Dan Inosanto, his closest student, described training sessions that should have been impossible. "We would spar for 3 hours straight," Inosanto recalled. 3 hours. Most fighters are exhausted after 3 rounds, maybe 15 minutes. Bruce could go for 3 hours and still have energy left. Inosanto was an elite martial artist himself. He had trained with masters from multiple systems. He had competed at the highest levels, and he could not keep up with Bruce Lee. "I would be gasping for air, my arms like lead, my legs cramping. And Bruce would be standing there, breathing normally, asking if I wanted to continue." The secret was not superior fitness. Inosanto was extremely fit. The secret was breathing. Bruce was not working harder than Inosanto. He was working smarter, using less oxygen, generating less waste, recovering faster between efforts. He was fighting with his breath, just as Ip Man had taught him. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the basketball legend who trained with Bruce, observed the same phenomenon. "I was 7 feet tall, 250 pounds, one of the best conditioned athletes in professional sports. Bruce was 5 feet 7 inches, 140 pounds, and he could outlast me in any training session." Abdul-Jabbar asked Bruce his secret. "Breathing," Bruce said simply. "Most people breathe to stay alive. I breathe to perform." He explained his method to Abdul-Jabbar, who incorporated it into his basketball training. Abdul-Jabbar credits Bruce's breathing techniques with extending his career into his 40s. "That little man," Abdul-Jabbar said, "understood the human body better than any coach or trainer I ever worked with. And it all started with breath." The breathing method also enhanced Bruce Lee's famous speed. Speed requires relaxation. Tension slows the body down. The tighter the muscles, the slower the movement. Most fighters, when they try to move fast, unconsciously tense up. They try harder. They strain, and they actually move slower. Bruce did the opposite. When he wanted to move fast, he relaxed completely. He exhaled. He released all tension. And then he exploded. The exhale before the strike was the key. Watch any footage of Bruce Lee in slow motion. Watch his face before he throws a punch. You will see his cheeks puff slightly as he exhales. Then the punch launches. Instantaneously. That exhale was not coincidental. It was deliberate. Trained over thousands of hours of practice. The breath triggered the movement. The relaxation enabled the speed. The technique was inseparable from the respiration. Bob Wall, who fought Bruce in Enter the Dragon, experienced this firsthand. I was supposed to block his punch, Wall recalled. I had trained for weeks. I knew the timing. I was ready. He paused. I never saw it. I felt it, but I never saw it. By the time my eyes registered movement, his fist was already touching my chest. Wall asked Bruce how he moved so fast. I do not move fast, Bruce said. I move effortlessly. There's a difference. The difference was breath. The breathing method had one more application that Bruce rarely discussed publicly. Pain control. In 1970, Bruce suffered a severe back injury while training. He had damaged his fourth sacral nerve. Doctors told him he would never kick again. Some suggested he would never walk without pain. Bruce refused to accept this. He spent 6 months in bed, studying, planning, developing methods to overcome his injury. One of the primary methods was breath-based pain control. Pain, Bruce realized, was amplified by breath holding. When people experience pain, they instinctively hold their breath. This increases tension, which increases pain perception, which increases breath holding. A vicious cycle. Bruce broke the cycle. When the pain in his back flared, he would focus entirely on his exhale. Long, slow, controlled exhalation. Releasing tension with each breath. Softening around the pain instead of fighting it. He described the technique to Linda, his wife. Pain is real, but suffering is optional. The breath is the bridge between them. If I can control my breath, I can control my response to pain. I can experience the sensation without being destroyed by it. Within a year, Bruce was training again. Within 2 years, he was filming Enter the Dragon, performing kicks that doctors said would be impossible. The recovery was miraculous. Medical professionals could not explain it. But Bruce knew. The breath had healed him. Not mystically, not magically, but practically. By controlling inflammation through relaxation. By promoting blood flow through deep breathing. By managing pain perception through respiratory control. The body heals itself, Bruce said. The breath simply creates the conditions for healing. Bruce Lee's breathing method was never formally documented. He taught it to his closest students in fragments. A principle here, a technique there. No complete system was ever written down. After his death in 1973, his students tried to reconstruct the method. They compared notes. They consulted with each other. They experimented based on what they remembered. Dan Inosanto captured some of it. Ted Wong preserved other elements. Linda Lee Cadwell found notes in Bruce's journals. But the complete system, the full method that Bruce had developed over 15 years, was lost. Or so people thought. In 2003, a collection of Bruce Lee's personal training notebooks was discovered in a storage unit. The notebooks contained detailed descriptions of breathing exercises, ratios, progressions, and applications. Hundreds of pages of information that had never been seen. Sports scientists who analyzed the notebooks were astonished. Bruce Lee had independently developed techniques that modern science was only beginning to understand. His work on respiratory rate variability anticipated research that would not be published until the 1990s. His methods for controlling heart rate through breath aligned with findings that emerged in the 2000s. His pain management techniques paralleled approaches that would become standard in sports medicine decades later. Bruce Lee was not just a martial artist. He was a pioneer of human performance, and his laboratory was his own body. The notebooks are now held by the Bruce Lee Foundation. Selected portions have been shared with researchers and elite athletes. The full contents have never been published, but those who have studied them agree on one thing. Bruce Lee understood breathing at a level that few humans have ever achieved, and that understanding was the foundation of everything else. His speed, his power, his endurance, his recovery. his pain tolerance, all of it built on breath. 4:47 in the morning. The rooftop in Kowloon Tong. Bruce Lee completes his breathing practice as the first light of dawn appears over Hong Kong. He has been training for 2 hours. He is not tired. He is energized, focused, ready. The breath has prepared him for whatever the day will bring. He stands in stillness for one final moment. Inhale, the city waking below him. Hold, perfect presence. Exhale, all tension released. Hold, complete emptiness. Then he walks inside to begin his day. This was Bruce Lee's morning ritual. Every day, without exception, the breathing came first. Everything else followed. Because Bruce Lee understood something that most people never learn. The body is not powered by muscles. It is powered by breath. Master the breath, and you master the body. Master the body, and you master combat. Master combat, and you master yourself. This was the lesson Ip Man gave him at 15. This was the principle Bruce spent his entire life exploring. This was the secret that made him superhuman. Not magic, not genetics, just breath. Controlled, trained, mastered, breath.